Hello.
Hello. We are now live on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
I see Eric added some stuff to the agenda.
Seems like a good place to discuss that stuff. Hey, Eric. Who are we waiting on?
I think there's some confusion. Who's leading the call?
Yeah. So, hold on. Sorry, someone was at the door. So I was under the impression that the people ops would take over this call, but maybe there was a. I mean, I can do it. That's fine. So. I'm having someone at the door, so I have to get this. I mean, it's kind of fairly straightforward. It's like all the other calls. We just go through each team, see if there's an update, and then there's an agenda by Eric. Sorry, I thought this was already handed over because I talked to Igor a bunch of times, and I've also pinged in people up. So I'm a bit confused about.
Okay, I don't mind taking the
Sorry.
lead.
Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
I don't really know. So, okay, if we're doing team updates, which team would like to go first?
Is anyone taking notes already?
No.
Who likes to take notes?
Okay, I will take notes, but I'm not sure I have the link for this meeting.
Okay, I don't have the link either.
I can try.
All right, let's just start a new HackMD. It's not.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it later. Okay, go on. I will take a new one.
So I can't see who's on the call, but maybe somebody from Core UI can give an update if there's anything.
I can give a short update here. So Core UI, we have Andre who's working on multi-account from Status React side, along with some changes from Andrea to use multi-account functions instead of simple accounts from user accounts. And this PR, we're waiting for this PR to be merged to continue the integration of multi-accounts, this time on Status Go side. So basically there is some function to create, generate accounts, multi-accounts on Status Go side that is integrated by the PR from Andre. And then there is Pierre on Status Go side from Dimitri that is handling the accounts on Status Go side, and it will require changing the login flow, and that's why we're waiting for Andre Pierre to be merged first. Other than that, we've moved dApps and browsers to Status Go, and there's been a lot of fixes for the release, but as discussed earlier, we won't release yet because there is a bug with 64 bits builds, and it's required for the Play Store after 1st of August. So we don't want to take the risk to release something now and then being trapped and not able to update because of the 64 bits bug. So that's one of our priority to fix to find a solution to the 64 bits bug. I think did I forget anything, Rachel? I don't know.
No, that covered it. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, who's next? I guess like Core. Anything from Core? Maybe Keycard, if anybody's on the line.
Yeah, sure. I can give a quick update about Keycard. So for the integration within the app, Dimitri is working on it. We're almost done. It's a matter of days now. What's left to do is the login and the onboarding. The login, Dimitri has released the PR last week. It's waiting for reviews, by the way, and for onboarding. I think once the recovery PR will be merged, we'll have a quick integration of Keycard, and we'll want to also change the pin screen that we use in Keycard onboarding, update them with the ones from the login PR. But that's really, these are quick things. So we are, let's say a couple of days from having the Keycard integrated now. Apart from that, we are progressing on the iOS Swift SDK. Michele is working on that, and we have a repo set up. We're trying to get external developers to help with that to speed things up. And what else? Andrea France has been working on multi-account these past weeks. And for the multi-account stuff, it's now been covered by Core UI, and it's been updated by Eric. So that's it for me.
Cool. Okay. I'll just put on. Well, what's up?
No, go ahead. Thanks.
Okay. I guess as far as like team updates, I can just kind of go down. Like, does Corey, do you have any team updates?
Yeah. Token economic stuff. We're going to shift to starting to discuss the economics around the Teller network as the status strategy shift. Seems reasonable to move towards things that are more focused on the status network as a whole. It's probably a good transition into doing things like that. And then from there, we'll move to other things. Barry posted an article on F Research around hurdle rates. If someone's interested in kind of how you evaluate these types of things.
All right. Corey, I guess while you deal with your dog, we can take a quick pause on that update. Speaking of Teller, Yuri, did you maybe have anything you wanted to give a quick update on?
Sure. So we essentially there was two things. One was that we really just tidying up things and writing lots of things like documentation, diagrams, checking the code with different tools, just in preparation for external security audit. So we have the proper documentation and also address whatever issues they could come up with initially. And then after that, we have now a new designer, and it did a lot of improvements. So we're actually now implementing some of those improvements in the UX itself, in making those changes.
Cool. All right. Corey, did you want to jump back in, or are you still dealing with your
see how this goes. I'm gonna have a lull in dog barking for a second.
All right, no problem. Go for it.
Very released and a hurdle rate article in the F research discourse that got some attention from Vitalik, and then some retweets from some popular token economics thought leaders. So I'd implore you to go read that and put your 2 cents into it. Other than that, not much going on for token economics.
It would be worth maybe sharing the link you said of what Barry wrote in the chat, maybe so people can take a look at it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Hester, did you maybe have any design updates? Or anything you wanted to talk about with design?
No, nothing specific. Thanks for
No
joining.
problem. Jacek, anything?
No, not right now. Thanks.
Cool. Okay, then I guess we can jump into the agenda points. I think maybe Oscar had listed something wanted to talk about the last time around, but it wasn't mentioned on, so maybe we discuss it this round.
Sure, I can just briefly give an update on protocol stuff.
Oh yeah, that too, sorry.
Yeah, sure. No worries. No, so we've been sort of mostly integrating Status Go and adding some features to Status Console client, and essentially working on using the separated protocol code base that's in Go into the app. Andreas also been working on getting data sync into actual Status React app. So that's going there. There's a PR right now open where the version 1 sort of breaking changes are behind a toggle. Dean has been working a bunch on data sync clients. We also had, we're sort of starting a partnership with Swarm. I think that's been mentioned before, but it's starting to get more clear now in terms of them delivering specs for first PSS and then BSS and adaptive nodes and so on over the next few months. Also, we started trying to get sort of NIM into Status Console clients, so we can actually use the Wisp implementation of in Nimbus and use that sort of to talk through Status Console client. So that's happening as well. I think that's mostly it for protocol. And then I guess, so sorry, it's my bad in terms of the handover of this meeting. So sorry for putting you on the spot, Johnny. Thank you so much for the help. I guess, is there any other Swarm that hasn't given an update and something that people feel like they want other people to know about? Okay, if not, then we have Eric who added some stuff last minute. Do you want to go over the things that you want to talk about?
Yeah, just a second. I saw that you posted another link, so I'm copy pasting my stuff. Okay, done.
I can take over the notes, Eric, while you're talking. Do you have a link to them?
Okay, let me paste the link again then. It's the one that Oscar put on the.
I thought you already had the note link.
Yeah, but then I just saw that you posted a new one. So I copy pasted, and then I lost the page. Okay, I got the page now. So what did I put first? Tech lead. Yeah, it's not that I have much to say about it, but more because there is a Disqus post about it. I don't know if everybody has seen it, but there is a discussion about hiring a tech lead, and there is an open position on the website, and Andrea started the discussion about whether it is something that is needed or needs to be discussed more. So I don't know if I thought it would be interesting to discuss it here.
What would be the argument against hiring a tech lead?
So can I just qualify a bit my opinion? Because if you read the post carefully, I don't think the problem is that we are hiring a tech lead, and I never posted a decision. So my concern was not about whether we want to or whether it's needed to hire a tech lead. That's a discussion we can have if needed. It's more about the process and the fact that we are hiring a tech lead to solve a problem that hasn't been stated in the team. As far as I'm concerned, I never heard this kind of problem. So the problem is that for me, like, it looks like a solution was handed down without a proper discussion. And I think that is more concerning, because it means that we're not acknowledging the current problems that the team has, which some people have, clearly maybe identified, but have not stated to the team. And so I think it looked to me like we're trying to look for a silver bullet. But until we acknowledge what the problems are, we make them public, we understand how to fix them, then we can think about a solution, which a tech lead might be a good solution. That's not for me to decide, really.
So I mean, I have some thoughts here, but just as a simple example, the fact that Igor left and is not coming back, like, I think there's lots of things he was doing that was very valuable in terms of being sort of the point person for the core team, and being sort of having native mobile experience and so on. And I think both those two things are things that we are lacking with him leaving. And I haven't, in either area, I haven't really personally at least heard of anyone who's sort of anyone filling those shoes, and that hasn't happened. I don't know if anyone would disagree with that characterization. Like, it's not a completely new role, it's more of a backfilling in some form.
No, it is a backfilling, but I mean, that's one of the aspects which clearly I agree that, like, we need some more technical expertise in that department, for sure. The two things that are conflated. So that we're saying that, we lack of technical people in these, and we want to take that in. The two things, a person might have both qualities, but not necessarily. Like, like, if you want more expertise in Android, you can hire someone who's technically competent in Android. But again, like, it's about the fact that, many other problems that were foremost, like, people, like, for example, Esther replied, there was very little mention of these, like, she mentioned very different problems. Estimates, code complexity, these kind of things, which, like, I think is something that needs to be dealt within the team as well first. And then, again, like, I raised some issues about the hiring process. Currently is very opaque. And, like, again, team changes have been very opaque, handed down. I think it's just overall, this is not a good process at all. Like, for a company that has our principles, it's laughable that, we have such a opaque, handed down, hierarchical, like, way to do things. No, that might be necessary, hierarchy. I mean, I'm not saying that we should have completely flattened structure, but certainly transparency is necessary.
Completely fair. I think that's completely valid feedback.
I agree with that.
So on that note, what's the next best step forward?
My side, I think we should just improve, identify where we lack. I mean, team lead discussion aside, that's, again, I think it might be worth hiring, it might not be worth hiring. Like, it's not for me to decide, but definitely within the team, it's some work. So we should identify where we lack and what the current problems are, as identified by, for example, you, Rachel, by Esther, which are things that, do need to be addressed. And so we can start addressing those points somehow. Because definitely, I mean, even if we have a team lead, like, we still need to do some work. It's not conceivable that a single person would change a team in a matter of days. So
half the point of having the team lead is to help to enforce certain changes, behavioral changes within the team, like, and just supporting the team in general. So, and something like we've discussed just recently, I mean, even today, we have certain pain points in our process, like the estimation of hours, for instance, is not ideal right now. And Andrea and I have discussed this a little bit privately one-to-one, and are planning to talk later this week about what we could do to improve development process. So certainly, Andrea, like part of our one-on-one agenda for that call can be about the problems that I raised as well, that I think are kind of ripe for having a team lead help with. And perhaps we can come up with some strategies to start addressing them on our own before we get into the hiring process.
Yeah, to me that sounds fair.
This is my comment for what it's worth if people haven't seen it yet, and what I think that we're lacking.
Is the discuss post that we're referring to the one that's called "What's Next for Status"?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to check. Okay, does anybody have any more topics or discussions they want to address? Maybe that weren't put on the agenda, but things that they want to bring up on this call? Or are we done with the tech lead still? Does anybody still have any more opinions?
Well, I would say the last part of the tech lead, or all of the things that are being addressed as things that need to be picked up based on Igor leaving and lack of process or whatever. If you feel as though there's something that you can do or would like to do, then say something to somebody on picking up that responsibility, whether or not that happens after we bullet point all the things that we're lacking currently. And then we can start to look at what roles could potentially fill those things. But if we can do things internally and you feel like there's something you'd like to do, you should say something to someone, and so that we can strategize around that and allow for this.
Yeah, I would go one step further. Like, just do it. Like Igor left a month ago, and I don't know. It seems like there's been certain things we're not been able to do due to lack of native experience and so on. So I mean, I guess like there's no. It's the role that's put up here. Like, it's not just like a super privileged thing. It's not like a. Like, anyone is free to take up this responsibility, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing blocking anyone from this. There's no specific access or anything, right? Like, and in terms of these outside of the core calls where this could be brought up, I don't know to what extent it's been brought up, but it's been discussed in janitors, and anyone is free to join those calls as well. And all the call notes are public. And then there are ad hoc conversations. I'm not sure exactly in terms of making it more transparent. I agree, but it's not clear exactly to me what that means outside of something being discussed in the core team, it being in janitors, it being posted to discuss. Like, it's not exactly clear to me, other than sort of clearly stating the problem, which people perceive slightly differently, and sort of gathering that. It's not exactly clear to me how it should be discussed differently.
I mean, I think that clearly stating the problem is a huge deal. Like, if you have a team and you're not happy with the performance of the team, which is what we currently, it's what it seems to be the problem, and that has never been discussed with the team. Mm-hmm. Like, what else is to be transparent about?
I agree.
Right? That's the huge thing. It's like you are discussing performance of the team, and you haven't been transparent about the performance of the team.
But it's not necessarily about the performance of the team. Like, if someone is leaving, obviously it's going to leave gaps, right? No?
Again, you're splitting a bit here because you're talking about Igor's leaving, but I've made very clear that the problems that have been identified, they're not due to Igor leaving.
Right.
Igor, like 10% of the responsibilities that were described, right? Like, he was handling releases, estimation, not really him. I mean, and native experience, it was him and Roman. So it's not just that, and we know that.
I have to agree. I think that there's more that I expect out of this potential role than Igor was actually responsible for. And And so, yeah, I can see like where your feedback is coming from, Andre, because it was kind of, it's as if we made the decision already and it was announced in a discuss post, but we didn't bring up the gaps that we're looking to fill beforehand. And I do think that there are blockers to people stepping in and stepping up and taking on additional responsibilities. And that's just that everybody has a very full plate trying to get ready for V1. So what incentive do they have to take on the role of things that Igor were doing or the role of a tech lead on top of their workload, right?
So one thing we can do, right? Like there was like I think people perceive the problems differently. Like I think Hester in the problems that she wrote down are slightly different from how I or someone else would perceive it. There was a sort of feedback round for core a few months ago. There was kind of not very like good turnout on that one, but that was sort of, it was clear at least in terms of some feedback on things that could be improved and so on. And that's obviously changed with Igor leaving and Roman being on leave. But maybe it would make sense to have something smaller or similar and lighter in terms of identifying the actual problems and that being conversation in terms of the team lacking certain things. And that would inform, for example, the job description, or if it's a job at all, and maybe it looks differently. I don't know if that would be interesting.
Oscar, just to respond to that, yeah, I think that would be a great idea because now there's input from some people like myself on Discuss. I'd love to hear from others what they think the issues might be, or maybe like others like see it as there are no issues to resolve. One thing I do want to note, because I've heard the word team come up a couple times. For me, the issues that I've seen have nothing to do with the performance of a individual team. Most of the comments that I made are the result of being like heavily involved in what we called like the multi-account project, which wasn't necessarily a project, but an architectural change to the key structure with impact across the application. That to me kind of surpass the level of teams. And that's where I also saw most of the issues, that I found it difficult to find contact persons within each individual team, but also for those contact persons or for anyone in general to understand the impact of such an architectural decision. So I just want to put that on the table, that this is to me not about the individual performance of a team, but more about a organizational element that we seem to be missing, which is an overarching thing next to these calls, like the core dev calls, that binds the work of the teams together and understands how they impact each other.
Just this is Gilui speaking. Just want to say I'm quite in line with what Hester said. I mean, I think it sums up pretty well my feeling too. I'm just reading as we speak the What's Next for Status Discuss post, but the need I saw is also this overarching role over teams that understand the full architecture of Status, and like this central person that can centralize all the technical aspects and architecture we can talk to when we try to see the implication of a given requirement, basically.
Yeah, to me, like that sounds like, I mean, doesn't seem to be like the best pattern. I understand for people who are not technical wanting to have a center point, but again, you know, like if you had such a bad experience, you probably talk to, I don't know how it worked, but clearly you talk to maybe like a single developer and ask for estimate, which clearly is not a good process. So I think, you know, we need to do kind of like, we need to sort of balance a bit. Technical and non-technical people, we both need to understand that what we can do and what we should do to some extent. And also like having a single person, it's fine to have a tech lead, you know, but having a single person who has all the knowledge, it's not a good thing. We need to spread out the knowledge across team members. You know, like that's where some processes can help, because otherwise we get into the same situation as we are now. Igor and Roman left, and that knowledge is gone. That we don't have anything. Well, it was a bit unlikely that both happened to you at the same time. but we don't really want to have a single point of failure. And so I understand that there are some expectation about it, but I think also this expectation needs to be sort of like, we need to adjust them a bit, with as well the fact that, it's a team and it's not one person, it's not silver bullet.
I would agree with that. I guess when it comes to specifically multi-account stuff, because I think that's been giving a lot of headache. Maybe I'm not sure that's exactly what you guys are saying, but if it's different angle. But to me, the problem there is that there was no clear single technical lead, and the responsibility and context kept being passed around, and that's why it became such a clusterfuck, because there was no one, not even like a functional role, owning the whole thing end to end. It was sort of just passed around a lot, and that meant that people didn't have the full context and it wasn't clear what the implications were. That's at least how things were looked from my point of view. So it was more a matter of not being clear sort of swarm lead or technical lead or whatever.
I think it's not about a role, but it's more about a step that we've missed. Just like you have a design step where the design team explores how they can do the UX and what would work best. We missed that step in development. So it's not about one person assuming that role, but rather a discussion about how we will proceed, because that was change that involves Status Go, Status React, and many developers of both. So it would have been much better if before the implementation of the screens and everything started, we already had an idea of what we want everything to look like. And I think it will be, so we have to think about that in the future, and it would be probably improved by the fact that we've kind of we're transitioning to having more like before. Status Go was always consumed as a simple method that were composed on Status React side, and now we have more often a functional API where we ask Status Go to do things. That's helped by the fact that data has been transferred to Status Go. So I think from a architecture point of view, it will be more important in the future and more obvious how to manage that step, like before developing an estimate to help with estimates, to have an idea of what the API between Status Go and React will look like, and have a design phase for software and not just for UX.
I definitely think that's a good idea, Eric. I think that sounds like something we need. Just a question so we have this structure for developing new features that is, as I recall, like specification, design, implementation as the three broad phases. Maybe Oscar, Rich, you can fill me in if I'm missing any. Where would you say like most of those activities can fall, or do we need to like introduce another phase for that process?
I mean, we can. I don't know if we want to. Do we want to talk about multi-account specifically, or is it about the current JD? I guess it's a question of where we want to have a focus on what do we actually want to resolve from this. Because to me, the multi-account stuff is maybe slightly, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I just feel like we want to resolve is what problems we have. And if we can't get to that, then finding solutions is a waste of time. Trying to find solutions is pretty much a waste of time.
From my point of view, the problem is that we don't have any clear mobile native experience, especially on Android. Additionally, there's no clear technical point person on the core team. They can sort of act as a point person, and in terms of understanding what's going on and sort of rough roadmap and taking ownership of the client as is. Those are the main things, as I see it, which is kind of similar to what Ego was doing. One difference I would make is maybe in terms of having was pushing for this before, and having more Android focus, because I think that's sort of been holding us back a bit in terms of when it comes to performance. But that's the only minor thing.
Yeah, a couple of important things that I think that person should do, or that we are lacking, is someone who can bridge conflicting opinions when two developers on the same team have different opinions about how something should be approached, problem, what have you. It would be great if we had someone who could take a final decision on that and defend the decision. And then also just somebody who can devote a lot more time to being a liaison to the product and design teams, helping everybody else inside the organization to understand like the time and effort and trade-offs in given decisions. And lastly, this person should also help to enforce good code standards and make sure that PRs are up to snuff and that we're just following best practices as a development team. And they should be doing this across like all of the core code bases as well, not just React and not just Go.
I guess to kind of follow up with what Rachel said, would it maybe make sense as kind of like what next steps should be for this? Like, should everybody, I guess, like comment on the thread with discuss, and that way people ops, I guess, can, when hiring this lead role or technical role, understand, I guess, kind of what the needs are in the space, so that, you know, there's like a better understanding of who to bring on or what to do.
Yeah, I think it would be great if other people would comment. If you have thoughts about the issue, to comment in that same discuss post.
Okay, perfect. So let's just take that to everybody for like opinions and stuff. I guess add to the discuss post of your opinions or kind of what's next for this role, what you're looking for, concerns, and then hopefully we can go from there and kind of help solve these problems that we're having. Any else want to comment on the role? Technical role? Wrapping it up. Okay, so let's wrap that one up. Does anybody else have any topics that they want to discuss this week?
Eric had two more, I think.
Oh, sorry, Eric.
Okay, so one was, I lost the page again, but it was the the 64 bits version of status, which we need for releasing on the Play Store starting 1st of August. And I was wondering, so right now we've tested without Realm. It still doesn't work, so it's not Realm's fault for once. So now we have one less option to explore before upgrading status React Native. It's something Go developers could help with. We're wondering with Andre if status Go is if it has an importance. If status Go is as a 64-bit version to link to the app, and if that could be the issue actually. So does anyone with the person we can discuss that with on status Go team? Well, anyway, we can do that offline. What is the other topic?
The other topic is, wait, the topic or the next topic?
The next.
The next topic was move from Realm to status Go discussion, login changes.
Yeah, okay, we can also discuss that offline. So I'm good.
Okay. Now that the agenda's been covered, are there any other topics that people wanted to bring up on the call today?
I guess I just had one question in terms of, I know that so there's a core UI stand up earlier today, and then we have these meetings and everyone is sort of down in, or most people are focusing on shipping V1. So what are people's thoughts on how to deal with that? in terms of these calls being useful and so on? Like what would be a good format?
Well, personally, I would be in favor of not doing the team updates. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be more efficient to just write something and post it on Discuss as a weekly team update post or something like this, because it's an odd ritual to me. I don't know if anybody is against this idea, but it would make the
And
call.
Yeah, in general, yes, absolutely. I guess what
So it's
we
like
agreed to.
if it's posted a few hours before, everybody has time to read them, and if there is any question, a need for details or discussion.
So in theory, absolutely. I think what we agreed to before is that people should give updates if there's anything that's relevant to other people in terms of future decisions and so on. That's not always what happens. And another thing is, in practice, even though we sort of said like people should post updates beforehand and so on, that doesn't actually happen. And trying to enforce that is a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. So it's a question of like, what's going to happen in practice as well.
I think Eric, you were referring to the sync calls though, weren't you? Or were you referring to core dev calls?
I guess a bit of both.
I think it's useful to have a weekly sync just to have the team on the same page, just to actually connect with each other. Although, yeah, in practice, it might actually be more effective to do written updates. It's kind of up to the team.
Do people maybe want to take a vote or write what their ideas are for maybe how to make the meeting more useful or updates more effective, and then we can choose from there, like what people think is best?
Yeah, we can. I guess it's a bit tricky because we're moving a lot of things. Like when we had the core UI, it used to be that there were more swarms, so there would be more coordination in sort of status core or whatever you want to call it. But with one call, that doesn't necessarily happen. In an ideal world, or maybe not, I don't know, but there's a lot of other sort of aspects, that is Keycard and Nimbus and Embark and so on, and protocol work and collaborations with limpdp and Swarm and so on. And once there are sort of integration issues or whatnot, this could be a useful call for that, similar to the core dev calls on in Ethereum. But it's not clear to me what that looks like, given that we also have more specific calls. So, for example, we had the protocols calls with fewer participants here, and I know that there's some calls between Embark and Nimbus and so on. So I would also be curious to hear people from outside status core, what their perspective is in terms of what would be useful.
We could also do these monthly.
That may not be a bad idea, where everybody can take like main points from like weekly team meetings and then just share them kind of with the larger group and say like, this is what we've been working on, this is what we're doing, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing it monthly and with a, I guess, more predefined agenda that over time can be sent to someone or in the GitHub or something like that. Because it feels sometimes every 2 weeks, sometimes we don't have much to talk about, or it kind of derails a bit.
And I think there's a little bit of overlap with town halls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so is anybody against making it once per month? Please speak now if you're against it.
No, I'm up for it, but I also have another question, which
Sure.
is that historically we have had lots of issues in terms of actually getting things into the agenda, especially sort of well-prepared items. Sometimes they come in and so on, but usually it requires a lot of pulling and so on, and often people come with ideas like last minute, which is better than nothing, right? But I don't know how people have seen this work better, because I agree with Yuri absolutely. Like ideally that you have a fully prepared agenda like several days in advance, and it's very clear, people can read up and you can discuss technical decisions in more detail. But in practice, that doesn't seem to happen very often, and it's not entirely clear to me why or how that can be changed or where this is more successful.
Well, personally, I would encourage a bit more participation and discuss. And one way to fill up the dev agenda is to pick up the issues discussed that seem to be a bit lagging, and to dynamize them to bring up to the agenda so that they are discussed live and maybe move forward. So kind of like, yeah, kind of what we did with the tech lead discussion today. It's like to bring an issue to the attention of people who are not participating but are probably concerned. So that would be one aspect of how to fill up the agenda.
That's a good idea, and I think we've seen it work sometimes before when there's been a controversial or very noisy topic and it's not been clear what decisions to make. So in general, I like that.
Okay, so let's do that going forward. Let's starting in the month of August, we'll make it kind of maybe toward like late August, the dev call, and set it up that way, and then take the discuss points from there, discuss them there, and then also do, I guess we can send the agenda out maybe 1 week before the meeting so that teams can add any other additional talking points, and then just doing some additional follow-up before the meeting happens. Does that work with everyone? I'm going to assume yes.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll make the changes on everyone's calendars for next month, and then I'll send the agenda out, and then maybe I can make maybe more of like a template for like team updates where people can enter in kind of updates from there, and then we can have a section for discuss, so it's a little bit more organized and people can add the talking points in that way. So let's try that out, and then we'll give it a test run next month and see how it goes, and then obviously we can improve from there.
That sounds good to me. Thanks, Rajani.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Of course. Does anybody else have any talking points that they want to go over today? Because the agenda's done. Questions, comments?
I can't wait to see you guys in Turkey.
Yeah, it'll be really fun.
Yeah.
There's also a discuss post for Turkey talking about what the agenda, speaking of agendas, should be for kind of what we discuss as a team. So I would love kind of everyone's input of what and how discussions should go for Wednesday and Tuesday when we're all together. So please add your thoughts in there, and so that we can be as collaborative and successful as possible when we're all together. So if that's it, then I will give everybody their last 10 minutes back for the day. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.